少女前線
The SA-80 assault rifle, specifically the L85A1 individual weapon, is a 2-star AR that's available from normal construction at a timer of 2 hours and 50 minutes, or from drops on many stages from stage 1-3 onwards. The idea of a British bullpup rifle chambered in an intermediate cartridge dates back from the late 1940s, with the EM-1 and EM-2. However, these rifles were never fully put into production due to the USA's demands that all NATO standard infantry rifles use the new NATO 7.62mm cartridge because of its quote-unquote power, and would only come around to intermediate cartridges after their adoption of the M16. Because of this, the British Army instead adopted the FNFAL and built it under license as the L1A1. Between the 1960s and 1980s, the Brits experimented further with intermediate cartridges, namely the 485x49mm, with multiple different experimental weapons such as the XL64, 65, 68, 70, 73, and 78. Most, if not all of these rifles became the foundation for which the SA-80 would be built upon, with further development of these rifles being done when NATO, more so the USA, made the decision to standardize the 5.56x45mm M193 NATO cartridge. The final experimental rifles were the XL85 and XL86 rifles, being adopted under the L85 and L86 rifles respectively. But there are complications and trouble from the start of its development. 3 project staff changes caused repeated testing, a larger ejection port was made due to how the cases were ejected, and the conversion from 4.85mm to 5.56mm. By 1994, over 350,000 L85 and L86 rifles were produced for the British Armed Forces. But these rifles had multiple issues. Going down the list, and this is for both the L85 and L86 LSW, the parts weren't robust enough, the LSW's bipod failed often, the plastic furniture was melted by insect repellent, the metal would quickly rust in the jungle, dust and snow would damage the mechanisms, there was high wastage during production, was unreliable in semi-auto and only a bit better in auto, with the opposite being true for the L86, the mag catch was easily knocked, allowing for the magazine to accidentally drop out. The top cover constantly popped open and had to be taped down. Only 26 to 28 rounds could be loaded into a magazine due to weak springs, rather than the standard 30. The mag would deform if grasped too tight. The safety plunger would swell if wet, making so the gun would either stay unsafe or on fire due to its swelling, and the gas plug was easily jammed. This led to the British government to look to H&K in 2000 to help upgrade the L85A1 and L86A1 to A2 variants, so that the media, government, and soldiers would gain some sort of confidence back in their rifles. Changes focused on improving the reliability of the cocking handle, stability, bolt, extractor, hammer, and others. The new L85A2 received a 95% success rate, surpassing the needed 90% success rate and far surpassing competition, whose success rate was at 47%, and was rushed into action for Afghanistan in December 2001, with all 200,000 rifles being converted by February 2006. In September 2016, the L85A3 was unveiled, with really the only significant additions being a full-length rail system, with the L86 LSW being withdrawn from use. A few variants of the L85 exist, namely being the L85 individual weapon, which is the standard assault rifle of the British military, the L86 light support weapon, LSW, which has a longer, heavier barrel, bipod, and typically uses a drum magazine, though it can take rifle magazines, the L22 carbine, which is an L85 with shorter barrel, and the L98 cadet general purpose rifle for cadet training. The L85 is a gas-operated rotating bolt assault rifle which fires the 5.56x45mm NATO cartridge from a 30-round STANAG or EMAG magazine at a rate of fire of 610 to 775 rounds per minute out to a range of 400 meters. In her character art drawn by MKI, L85 wears an outfit reminiscent of a Royal Guards uniform. She wears a black and red dress with white collar, white shoulders, white cuffs, silver clasps, silver buttons, and gold detailing, a black belt with gold buckles, short black gloves, red half-frame glasses, dark red pants with white mismatched length stockings that have red laces, red shoes, and a red bonnet with a rose and flowing ribbons. She holds her L85 with both hands, her right hand on the grip, finger on the trigger, and left hand on the foregrip. The firearm has a suicide sight on top, which is by far the worst sight I've ever had the displeasure of using. In her voice lines, voiced by Ayamiya Yukiko, who also voices Amazon and Azure Lane, 85 is quintessentially British.
はじめまして L85A1 です。指揮官、お茶しませんか？おはこんばんちは。しょぼーん。メガネをかけたまま、お風呂に入っちゃいました。
Like some ARs, 85's main role is buffing her own damage and rate of fire for a short period of time. Her singular tile only buffs one SMG, giving them plus 50% accuracy and plus 20% evasion. She's best placed on tiles 4, 5, 7, or 8. At level 10, 85's skill, Charge Focus, has 85 buff her own damage by plus 35% and rate of fire by plus 15% for 5 seconds. This has a 6-second ICD and 8-second NCD. This boosts her damage to 62 and rate of fire to 90 without equipment. When fully linked, enhanced, and level 100, 85 has 94 HP per link for a total of 470, consumes 60 ammo and rations, deals 46 damage, has 43 evasion, 43 accuracy, 78 rate of fire, 10 move speed, a 20% crit rate, and deals 150% damage on a crit. 85 is able to equip telescopic sights, hollow sights, red dot sights, night vision, suppressors, high velocity ammo, microchips, and exoskeletons. The recommended equipment for 85 is a 5-star scope, 5-star HV ammo, and 5-star focus chip. This gives her plus 30 damage, plus 48% crit rate, plus 30% crit damage, but minus 10 rate of fire. This brings her stats to 76 damage, 68 rate of fire, 68% crit rate, and 180% crit damage. Her skill now raises her damage to 103 and rate of fire to 78. L85 is on the better side of the 2-star ARs, but that's not really saying all too much. Going over her limited pros, her skill does give her an edge on single target damage, as it both buffs her damage and her rate of fire, overall upping her DPS, and the damage buff, I know I said evasion earlier, I made a mistake, buff from her tile isn't too bad either. But then there's the slew of cons she has. That tile that the damage buff is on is directly above her, somewhere where you don't want a buff tile to be on an AR, because that kind of forces her to be in the front line or carry 3 SMGs, which is dumb for an AR SMG echelon. And it comes with a fairly useless, at least in my opinion, accuracy buff for SMGs. Because SMGs are there to either evasion tank or throw grenades. Her overall stats are terrible, unlike some of the other 2-stars. She doesn't have a black market spec, she's British, and there are, unsurprisingly, other ARs out there who are overall better, be it stats or skills. For example, FNC, and she's 1 rarity higher. The only thing that L85 is useful for is enhancement fodder for your actually good T-dolls. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and please check out my other Arknights and Azure Lane videos as well.